Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Book to Block, the series where I bring my fantasy novel to life in Minecraft, one block at a time. Today's episode we're doing a little bit differently. We're not going to do so much building, as I've already finished most of the building for this episode. I'm going to do more of a walkthrough. This is kind of more of a role play, kind of the adventure map playthrough of what would actually happen in the story. So let's get to it. So, at this point in the story, the main character has gone through the village, he's come to the main city, he's done a couple things, and he's been advised to follow this lava road to a little shrine that might be in the mountain edge there. So let's head on over. So he would exit out this gate. He has his trusty pickaxe, as he is a miner from the mining village at the very start of this kind of building area that I did. So if we come down here, I'll kind of just zoom through just to get past all this. It'd be a long trek for him. But as we come up to here, we come across some creatures. So in the book, these are fire salamanders. So I just made some large axolotls. Brown was kind of the best color. If there was like a reddish orange, I might do a texture pack someday. And then I might retexture some things like this just so it fits better with the world. So in the story, the main character has to kind of skirt the edges of this path, not to antagonize any of these guys. But as he comes down a little further, he comes along one that's been left behind and is dead. So these guys have left him behind. And if you see here, we can get a little leather tunic that's made from the hide of this little guy. I named him Grum so he'd be upside down. And this has fire protection because as he's walking by the lava, it's going to get very hot very quick. So let's put that on. I could probably dye that, maybe make it a little bit more red, but right now it's brown, kind of just like the fire salamanders or axolotls are right now. But as we come up over here, we're going to kind of skip a little bit, and then we're coming down here. So in the story, it's coming around nighttime. So we're coming down to here. The lava goes into this big old chasm into the side of the mountains here, and we're going to head down. So we've got our trusty pickaxe. We're going to kind of follow along here, but oh no, we can't get by. The whole kind of lava's in the way, and if we come down to this area, it's all blocked off. There's no way to get through. So in the story, there are some creatures that are going to drop these kind of things here. Actually, let's go into survival mode. So the little shards, so the amethyst shards, there'll be some kind of rock monsters. I didn't really know how to do that in Minecraft, so maybe that'll be like a entity thing that I'll make them, but they wouldn't actually drop these, so maybe it'd be like step on a pressure plate and it throws out these guys. I've got some extras here when I was testing, but in the book, he throws these shards onto the lava and it cools it down. So my way of doing that is throw it here, and we get a nice little path through here, and it goes away. So I'll show all the redstone because I did quite a bit for this video at the end. He then comes down here. I got a skulk that sets it to darkness, so it's kind of a dark area. The skulk really fits with what I actually mentioned in the story. But if we keep coming down here, we go in here and we see some eyes. And in the story, many fall for this trap, and there are some spiky dripstones down there. So I didn't go to survival. So got some dripstone, so many adventurers seem to have fallen for this trap. But if you ignore those spooky little eyes and come down this way, another one that clears it. So you're all free from this spooky area here. If we keep coming, looks like one made it past, but maybe succumbed to his injuries. And what's this? We got a little bit of a book. So I'm going to go back to creative just to grab this. This is just a little excerpt from the novel I'm writing, just of what I wrote for this guy, Eridan, and just like a little, oh, he's dying, please survive. You can pause and read that if you want. But if we come down this way still, now that's kind of where we just were, so we can reconnect up with the lava path. But oh no, there's nothing here. It's kind of a sad moment where he feels defeated. Why am I here? But if he speaks a certain password, in this case it's just a button, I might set it up where you get a piece of paper, throw it into a hopper, and that counts as you saying it. But for now, we're just going to do that, and that's going to open up our little path here. A bit more redstone. And then we're into this kind of shrine of the ancient dwarves. So currently we're in the modern dwarves, so these are like millennia. So I've got to kind of break this down. I'm doing a little once through of a nice version of this kind of build. So we come in, they've got all these special weapons. So these are the great weapons of the Forge Masters that have made in this kind of area. I got this dragon head. This is actually from my church in my village. I just retextured it with blackstone instead of quartz. And it's got lava coming out of its mouth just for a little bit more lighting. So we got, this one's a kind of flail or mace. I used a stick, chain, and just a stone. I might add some like spiky bits off of it. Then we got a bow, a sword, a hammer. This is going to be, I said a spear, but it's a trident right now. Since we're getting the spear pretty soon in Minecraft, I'll replace that once we get that in there when I update this world. We got a shield, twin daggers, and then this is kind of a scythe. And then if you come over here, we got a secret extra weapon. So if I come over to here, can't really grab it, so I'm just gonna grab my diamond axe here, then go back in. My free cam is kind of messing up because it's on F4, but this is like a secret 9th weapon, because these are the 8 great weapons of the 8 great Forge Masters of old. And then this one was kind of a secret one. It's been enchanted with runes opposed to being just a pure craftsmanship, so that's why it's kind of left in the corner. After I do the kind of breakdown, all of these are going to be missing or destroyed. This whole area won't be as neat as it is now, like all the walls are very clean. But after, in the story, this is all broken down, he finds the axe, and then he comes down to this only path is here. And if we come into here, we've kind of got like a little shrine. I'm actually going to grab a lantern, just because I don't know if it's going to be too dark for you, because it looks fine for me. But this is kind of the guardian of this actual axe. So the creator of this axe created this golem to kind of pass on the legacy. He gives some tips and tricks on the runes and the legacy that the main character would be inheriting from this. And then after he gives that, passes that message, he powers off forever. And then as you come back out here with this kind of new kind of determination, right now it's just controlled by a lever, but as you would exit this area, this wall would open up. So a bit more redstone there. And then there's a nice little staircase it reveals. And if we come down here, we're into a kind of like a vault. I'm gonna kind of go into here. You saw this pressure plate, that'll do something. So we've got all these fancy things, all this gold. But what happens is when you enter, a large monster like comes in. So this was kind of hard to get all the redstone, so it only spawns once, so it can't spawn multiple. So in the story, the main character then has to fight and defeat this guy. I'm not going to do that because wardens have insanely high health, and this is just a regular diamond axe. I've got nothing else on it, so I've kind of got this little kill switch over here. So you defeat him, and then after that, this is all actual fake gold. So none of this stuff is real. If he took this axe, it would just break on impact, and that kind of thing. So that's kind of the whole area. It does actually spawn him on the way out, so I'm just gonna do that, and then hop over so that I can get it the next time I come through. And then he comes out. This is gonna stay open because he doesn't, this is all gonna be broken down, so he doesn't really worry about anyone getting into there. And then he comes back out, escapes, doesn't have to worry about any of this. And then once he comes back through this way, he doesn't have to worry about the kind of darkness because this axe is going to have some kind of special enchantment runes. I'm going to get hit by this stuff over here, so I'm going to have to quickly clear it on my own. /effect clear. Oh, it's going to get me again. So, and then as he comes here, he has no more shards. So how's he, I'm going to stop that, how's he going to get back across? Because he knows he can get it back. But if he throws this up here, so he throws, so it's going to open up, but I want to grab this back quickly, and then I've got to run across, and it's just barely long enough. If you're too slow, it'll come back down. And then he escapes, and then he can head back to the town to kind of continue his quest on. Alright, so now that we kind of got the story out of the way, main character would head back, avoid the salamanders again, and then continue his quest on in the main city. But in this episode, we're focusing down here on the shrine. So what I kind of did for this, I just dug a hole, placed the lava. That wasn't too difficult, but the difficult stuff was down here. So I'm going to turn on no clip. So what we've got down here is we have kind of an item sorter, so only those shards are going to go in. So if I were to come in here, oop, don't want to do that. What's going on? Okay, I went into that. So we want to go creative. So if I were to throw in stone, nothing's going to happen. And then, so in here, we've got this sorter. So only amethyst shards are going to come through here. Just a bit of storage for all the attempts I've made. So if a shard does go through, it sends a signal here. So it powers this once it gets to 64. It powers this, puts the one down here, and then sends a signal to here. I've got a pulse extender so that it stays up a little bit longer. And then the power comes to here where I got some target blocks, which just hit up some just sticky pistons with a bit of stuff on the bottom. So if I grab this and just do that, so it's just some tough with the pistons on there. So just remove that, goes through there, and then it turns off. And then on the other side, where we got the axe, so there's an invisible item frame here. Okay, that's getting annoying. But what happens is, once you put it in, so here we'll see, and it goes back down. So once you put it in, it sends a signal to a very long pulse extender. I sent 2 because I wasn't really sure. This is kind of like spaghetti redstone. And then it just hits the other side where it powers again. And then the reason why it takes so much longer is because after you take it out, it takes all this time for it to turn off. As you can see, it's still powered on, I might have broke it. No, there we go. And then that last one, there we go. So it just stays a little bit longer. I don't actually think I need this one. I think if I were to put the repeater here, it would work because it turns off this one last, but it's not too much a difference. And then over here, we just got a quick calibrated skull sensor into a command block that just gives me the blindness effect. Over through here, and then another one that just gives me the clear effect. So that took off my night vision. This is just all just entity displays, and then another invisible item frame where my kind of book is in here. So that's how I got this guy. Now if we head down here, so this button powers into here, which sends a signal all the way over here, which starts this flying machine. So what it does is it powers these pistons, which sets off all these observers, and it also sets off this. So it works together as a push-pull, just as the right timing here. And so if we quickly, there's another button on this side actually, I'll just quickly press it. So it hits it, coming through, push-pull, push-pull. And then the same thing, so it can be either side. Now it just powers this one, which hits this, which sends it all the way back. So let's go there. And it just pulls, and then it stops on this obsidian here. And so that's just a nice, easy sliding door. If you guys want like a kind of redstone tutorial from me, from all the redstone I've done in this world, or any specifics, let me know that in the comments, and I'd be happy to make an episode on that. Now moving further, these are all just little entity displays, just made really large. As I mentioned, that's how I made this one. Got my big dragon head here, spewing out some lava. I've got some blocks in here so it kind of spreads out a bit more. Another entity display down here. And then over here, this guy is just 2 different ones. One that spawns him, gives him the name of Guardian, and the other one that sets the scale with the slash attribute kind of thing. And then over here, we have this guy. So that's very quiet. I'm not sure, I might have something turned off. This one's a little bit more complicated. I needed a tutorial for this one. But what happens is the kind of over here, so the lever's right here, it powers this XOR gate. So if I wanted, I could have another one on this side powering, so you could close it from either side. It then sends a signal up here, which pushes out these guys, which sets off this guy's here, which attaches it towards these. And then we got some double piston extenders. So if I depower it, it pulls everything back one with these guys. These ones here, they pull it back, and then they're pulled apart. And because we have the slime and the honey, they pull along with it. I've got these lodestones as my immovable objects, so they kind of fit in nicely here. Then if we head on down here, so just some pressure plates that hit over here. So what it does is it powers this piston here, sends this redstone block over here, which powers all of the command blocks, which spawns the warden and then scales them up. So the reason why I did this is just a regular piston, not a sticky piston. So here I've got to turn off new clip. So I'll remove the floor here. So it powers it and it pushes it, but it doesn't pull it back. So if I were to press on it again, it's not going to change anything. It's going to stay powered. It can't be powered a second time. Now what the one over here does, let's go down here, just a simple, this one kills the warden, and then this one pushes it back, which resets the whole thing, which means it can be kind of triggered again. So if I cover all this back up again, and then these are all just little entity displays, just quick little ones, and then just the raw gold. And let's get rid of it. Now, while I was building this, it all felt very flat. So basically I just tunneled out a giant square here just to make it feel like a grand kind of hall. A little up bit, and then the details on this. So it's not too much, but the walls, they felt very flat because it was originally just this kind of polished tuff. So my technique of getting it not so flat, so you got different blocks, so I've got things like this, that got replaced. So these are kind of the chiseled tuff, but I was using this kind of like as runes, so they're like ancient, like the old language that powered kind of weapons, made them much powerful, and things like that. And then over here, so we got a little bit of depth here. So what I do is I use these walls, I replace the block, and then I use stairs. So these are top stairs, bottom stairs. It just adds so much texture to this kind of area, makes it feel not so flat. And then I always do these kind of trim of the edge, either of using the stairs. Here I'm using the slabs, and I'm slabs here again, and I'm using the same technique. So it's just a way of getting a little bit of depth into your build, so you don't have to make huge arches like kind of how I did here. You don't have to do arches everywhere and kind of do all that kind of detail. It can kind of be a little bit more flat. Just these tiny bit of detail adds to it. And especially since if we do effect clear, you don't really see that much. So when you're doing builds like this, and if you expect it to be like kind of viewed in a certain way, you can kind of take shortcuts and have it so, well, I can't see the ceiling. It kind of looks like it goes on forever because it's that darker polished deep slate. It's the vibe you want to give it. If you want to build and make it look nice, that's a different thing. But for me, I want this to kind of have a feeling, aesthetic, and things like that. So if you walk in here, you get a reaction to the whole build itself. So that's kind of the video. So it's not quite as long as my usual videos. They're going over 20 minutes. This one's going to be a little bit less just because I did it slightly differently. If you enjoyed this kind of difference where I kind of do all the building beforehand and then come through like how it would in the story and then show little bits, like interesting bits afterwards, please let me know so I can see kind of what style you guys prefer for this kind of building. Because for most of my other builds, or my other videos, I kind of just build and record as I go and then kind of little inserts of like, oh, this is what I'm doing now I'm doing this. So if you've enjoyed this kind of different, where it's kind of like the storytelling and then the building at the end, let me know down in the comments so when there's different videos that can be kind of done like this, because there's ones for like where I'm doing the volcano city. If I'm doing just a couple different buildings, it's a little harder to do that because there's not as much story to these ones. They're kind of just the backdrop. So the whole video is kind of dedicated to showing how I'm building it in total. But if you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and subscribe for more episodes coming soon. Until next time.